The Dallas Cowboys just might be the most dysfunctional team in the NFL. Breaking news, the Dallas Cowboys are trading Micah Parsons to the Green Bay Packers. This is the latest fumbled contract negotiation that Jerry Jones has had in a string of several botched contracts, which we'll be discussing in this video. Hi everyone, welcome back to another video of Spectator Sports, where we cover sports from a spectator's point of view. I'm your host Sebastian Fonseca, and I'm back after a summer break after the conclusion of the NBA Finals. I'm rested and ready to go for the upcoming NFL season, and what a way to return from my summer hiatus. In this video, we'll be dissecting the Micah Parsons trade, what it means for the Cowboys, what it means for the Packers, and the entire NFC, along with how the Cowboys got to this point. But before we get into the content, please do us a massive favor. Drop a like on this video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. We are on the grind to 400 subscribers by the end of the calendar year, and would really love it if you guys could participate. It really helps us out with the YouTube algorithm. If you want to get more clips from Spectator Sports, we got that for you here on YouTube in our various playlists, as well as on TikTok. And if you want to enjoy Spectator Sports from an audio-only experience, we got that for you on Spotify. I'll link everything in the description, and let's get into the video. I can't believe that Jerry Jones really traded the best player on the Dallas Cowboys for what seems to be very minimal return. The full trade terms are that the Green Bay Packers get Micah Parsons and will be sending defensive tackle Kenny Clark and 2 first-round draft picks to Dallas in exchange. The Packers will also sign Micah Parsons to a massive 4-year deal worth $188 million with $120 million guaranteed, meaning that Micah Parsons has reset the edge rusher market, earning up to $47 million a year. With this move, the Packers rise to being one of the most dangerous teams in the NFC and appear poised to give the defending champion Philadelphia Eagles a run for their money this season. The concerns for the Packers coming into this season was their lack of pass rush. Of course, Rashawn Gary did make the Pro Bowl in 2024, but Micah Parsons is just on a whole different level. With Micah in the lineup, the defensive line will be bolstered as he is a perennial Defensive Player of the Year candidate. And this could be a Khalil Mack to Chicago type of impact with the Green Bay Packers in 2025. Back in 2018, Khalil Mack was demanding a trade out of, at the time, the Oakland Raiders. And on September 1st, just a few days before the season kicked off, the Raiders traded him to the Chicago Bears for what seemed to be more return than what the Cowboys got for Micah. With the defensive line bolstered, and now with Xavier McKinney in the defensive backfield, the Packers defense under Jeff Hafley should be one of the best defenses in the conference, especially with the Vikings integrating JJ McCarthy, which is essentially his rookie season this year, Ben Johnson getting his first crack at becoming a head coach, and Caleb Williams getting a mulligan of a rookie year, and the Detroit Lions, who have 2 new coordinators on either side of the ball. The Packers seem to be a huge threat to take back the NFC North. With this move, the Cowboys defense will likely be one of the worst units in the NFL. Even with Micah, the defensive unit was pretty weak. Their defensive line hasn't been the same in the last couple of seasons. Their linebacking core is very up and down, and yes, Trayvon Diggs is a pretty good cornerback, but with health concerns in the past few years, and his production has tailed off, especially from 2023 to 2024. I'm really concerned about this defensive unit led by Matt Eberflus. And in a division where you have 2 stud quarterbacks in Jalen Hurts and Jaden Daniels, and with the Cowboys opening up the season against the Philadelphia Eagles next Thursday, I feel that the Eagles' loaded offense has a chance to torch whatever's left of the Dallas defense and give Cowboy fans a sneak preview in what could be a very long season. I don't understand why this wasn't handled earlier by Jerry Jones. In the spring, it seemed like there was a handshake agreement for a 5-year deal worth up to $202.5 million and a yearly salary of $40.5 million a year. This would have put him past the deal that Myles Garrett signed but for whatever reason, Jerry dragged his feet and let the asking price grow and grow to the point where the relationship soured. I didn't take Micah's trade request seriously because just in the same division with the Commanders, Terry McLaurin also demanded a trade when it didn't appear that a deal would be likely. Now, just early this week, he and the Commanders agreed to a contract extension, and now Terry is set for the next 3 years. This whole saga this offseason between Micah and Jerry Jones could have been very avoidable, and I'm going to break down how a series of moves led to this blockbuster trade. Dating back to 2019, Ezekiel Elliott, and then in 2020, Zach Martin. In 2021, it was Dak, and then last year, it was CeeDee Lamb. And these are all deals that the Dallas Cowboys front office had fumbled these negotiations that has since impacted the Cowboys' failure to retain Micah Parsons. Who's to blame for all this? It's none other than Jerry Jones. Since Jerry bought the Cowboys in the late 80s, they've won 3 Super Bowls and have become the world's most valuable franchise at just over $12 billion, according to Sportico. While Jerry Jones has built the Dallas Cowboys into America's team with a fan base stretching from coast to coast and even having a huge international presence, the 90s dynasty was much attributed to Jimmy Johnson, not Jerry Jones. Jimmy Johnson was the true architect in building a roster that went back-to-back, winning Super Bowls 27 and 28. And even though Jerry Jones does sign the checks, it was Jimmy who made crucial moves to make the Cowboys into one of the most dominant teams in NFL history. It was Jerry's ego that got in the way of the Cowboys winning more championships, as he and Jimmy parted ways in 1994. And who knows, if the Cowboys stuck with Jimmy Johnson, they very well could have been the first team to win 3 Super Bowls in a row. Despite winning a 3rd Super Bowl in 1995, and that being the 3rd Super Bowl in a 4-year span, we all know that team that won Super Bowl 30 had a ton of influence from Jimmy Johnson, who was 2 years removed from the team at the time. After the Cowboys parted ways with Jimmy Johnson, Jerry became the de facto decision maker of the Dallas Cowboys, assuming the titles of GM, president, along with being the owner. And this is something that is unprecedented in the NFL. Usually owners buy the team because they have the capital to do so, and then they hire somebody like a general manager or a president to manage the team. However, since January of 1996, the Cowboys have yet to return to the NFC Championship game, only winning 4 playoff games, with all of them being wins in the wild card round. Jerry has become obsessed with becoming the center of the football universe, boasting, "The Cowboys are a soap opera 365 days a year. When it gets slow, I stir it up. There is controversy." That controversy is good stuff in terms of keeping and having people's attention. Despite revenue being at an all-time high, and despite many talking heads in sport media bringing up the Cowboys in their content, the Cowboys haven't won a single thing in 3 decades. And the way Jerry handles these contracts is truly baffling. The Cowboys have had a long history of botched contract disputes, with each deal coming at the last minute to the point where they end up spending more money than if they agreed to terms sooner. In this exercise, I'm going to be breaking down several landmark negotiations and tally up how much Jerry and the Cowboys could have saved by simply re-signing their guys early. Let's visit Dak Prescott's contract negotiations in 2021. Dak and the Cowboys agreed to a 4-year, $160 million deal, including a $66 million signing bonus. Dak was coming off of a devastating leg injury, playing only 5 games in 2020. But dating back to his rookie year, Dak flashed potential as he was a mobile, strong, and very accurate passer. And in 2019, Dak posted career highs in passing yards and passing touchdowns, but the Cowboys failed to make the playoffs. After the conclusion of the 2019 season, they had a chance to discuss a deal. Dak's 2016 draft classmates like Jared Goff, and Carson Wentz have already signed massive contract extensions, with each being worth north of $125 million. Dak, being the most accomplished member of that quarterback class so far, could easily have signed a deal worth around $130 million over 5 years. But have saved the Cowboys $17 million from 2019 to 2022. However, talks broke down, and this led to Dak being franchised at $31 million, which put him at right in the middle of the pack of quarterback salaries at the time. In 2021, a deal was made, and Dak was the highest paid quarterback in the NFL, reaching the $40 million a year barrier, surpassing Russell Wilson, who was at the time making $35 million a year. With another year to get the deal done, this costed the Cowboys an extra $10 million. And once it was done, the Cowboys could then turn their focus onto the NFL draft. And this is where they ended up grabbing Micah Parsons in the first round. The Cowboys would go on to have a very strong season in 2021, finishing the year at 12-5, winning the NFC East for the first time in 3 seasons. Micah was an instant success. He won Rookie of the Year, made a ton of splash plays. However, the Cowboys flamed out in the wild card round as Dak Prescott seemed to lose track of time, and they lost to the San Francisco 49ers. The Cowboys would go on to have consecutive 12-win seasons in 2022 and 2023, but only won 1 playoff game in that 3-year span. In 2022, Dak did lead the league in interceptions. Heading into 2023, the Cowboys could have signed Dak to another extension, but failed to do so, as at the time, the 2020 draft class, we saw quarterbacks break the $50 million a year barrier. Guys like Trevor Lawrence, Jalen Hurts, Justin Herbert, all signed deals north of $50 million. In 2024, the Cowboys were essentially backed into a corner due to several contract restructures in Dak's deal. The deal became so heavily backloaded that if Dak were to walk in free agency in the spring of 2025, the Cowboys would have been faced with a dead cap hit of over $90 million. That's simply cap mismanagement at its finest. Within hours of the Cowboys set to open up the 2024 season against the Cleveland Browns, Dak signs a 4-year extension worth up to $60 million a year, once again reclaiming the richest deal in NFL history. Let's turn to CeeDee Lamb's contract negotiation. Last year, he was in the middle of a contract battle with Cowboys management. He was coming off of a historic season in 2023, earning first-team All-Pro honors as well as having over 1,700 receiving yards. In the very spring, fellow 2020 draft picks like Justin Jefferson and Brandon Ayuk, and to put further insult to injury, 2021 draft picks like Devontae Smith, Jalen Waddle, Nico Collins, and Amon-Ra St. Brown also got paid before playing the 4th year of their rookie deals. If they worked out an extension in 2023, Lamb's deal would have been worth $14 million less than what he signed for just before the start of the 2024 season. So tallying up our total potential savings now, we're at just under $64 million in potential savings. Are you noticing a trend here? This brings us to August of this year. The Cowboys have alienated their top defensive player, who has done nothing but produce since entering the league. But once again, Jerry's stubbornness has costed the Cowboys. Jerry took public jabs at Micah, stating that he missed 6 games when in fact he only missed 4 due to injury last year. And like I said earlier, talks were productive in the spring, but Jerry refused to let Micah's agent review the handshake agreement. Since the spring, pass rushers like Max Crosby, TJ Watt, and the already mentioned Myles Garrett signed massive extensions worth north of $35 million a year. And if a deal was reached back in 2023, the Cowboys could have saved nearly $20 million, bringing the total to $84 million in potential savings just by signing their players early. I didn't bring up contract negotiations with Zach Martin, DeMarcus Lawrence, or Ezekiel Elliott. Contracts could have easily taken this exercise past $100 million in potential savings. Jerry's method of playing hardball is extremely dated and simply doesn't work in today's era of contract negotiations. The Cowboys have been forced to let numerous players walk in free agency or forced to trade them for pennies on the dollar, and now Micah Parsons joins that list. Jerry, you fucked up. Dallas, you fucked up. Unless you hit a home run with these draft picks, this deal will live in infamy. There's a stark contrast with how Jerry and the Cowboys handle contracts versus how Howie Roseman handles player contracts as GM of the Philadelphia Eagles. Howie takes the opposite approach. For example, Jalen Hurts, coming off of a Super Bowl appearance and finishing as MVP runner-up in 2022, signed the richest deal ever in 2023 at $51 million a year. Now, fast forward 2 off seasons later, his salary ranks 11th in terms of highest salaries in the NFL. This is the philosophy that the Eagles have adopted under Howie Roseman. Pay your guys early, with the cap expanding each offseason. These initial contracts, which maybe look like the richest deal at that time, actually turn into middle-of-the-pack deals as the market continues to saturate. For reference, the combined cap hit of Jalen Hurts, AJ Brown, and Devontae Smith is still $5 million less than Dak Prescott's cap hit in 2025 alone. This practice has allowed the Eagles to acquire talent via trade and also create cap room further down the road, as they will have to hand out extensions for their young defensive studs like Quinion Mitchell, Cooper DeJean, and Jalen Carter, thus preserving their dominance in the NFC. It's clear to me that Jerry Jones isn't focused on building championships anymore. He likes to continue this media circus by any means possible. Since he's taken over in 1996, the Patriots have won 6 Super Bowls in an 18-year span. Explain to me how you can be dubbed America's team if you haven't won anything in nearly 30 years, let alone made an appearance in the NFC Championship game. If you told Dallas sports fans at the beginning of 2025 that the city's 2 biggest superstars in Luka Doncic and Micah Parsons would be traded, they'd laugh in your face. Well, within a 6-month span, each player has been shipped out of town and now are playing on different teams. Jerry should enjoy the media attention while it lasts, because thanks to his ego and stubbornness, he's turned the Cowboys from America's team into America's laughingstock.